All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Let's go ahead and get a little serious here for a little bit. The truth Christian Zionists refuse to face. Now, I've been talking about this for quite a while now, right? And I genuinely believe that the reason America is in the position that it's in right now is because of Christians. Now, this is not in a way that's like negative or anything like that. No, no, no. If Christians had followed their own Bible, perhaps America would not be in the position that it's in today. We understand that the Scofield Bible has been manipulated. Yeah, the Rothschild got in there, manipulated, and went ahead and gave it to a guy in the South named, I think it was Jonathan Scofield or Franklin, something Scofield. So yeah, the Scofield Bible is something that is actually new. And so the Bible has been manipulated, and so many Christians out there have been duped into believing that in order for them to be saved, they have to support the state of Israel. And to be quite honest with you, that statement in of itself doesn't make any sense. Why? Because we understand that the state of Israel is trying to usher in the coming of the Messiah. And as Muslim and Christian, we both realize that the Messiah has already came, which is who? Jesus. So the only one that has not yet came is the Antichrist. And the Jews do not accept Jesus. So when the Antichrist comes, that's who they're going to follow. So in conclusion, Christians are pretty much working alongside the Jews to bring in the usher of bringing the Antichrist. And we understand that Jesus is going to be coming back again and he's going to kill the Antichrist. You got what I'm saying? And so again, it doesn't work. But let's go ahead and hear what this little video has to say right here, and I will give more more commentary on it.
See, this is a very important beef that I have. I hope you'll let me vent for a minute.
Yeah, the reason I started right here is because this little part was just an upcoming, is what it says. And so this is where the video actually begins.
You can do whatever you want, John.
One of the biggest problems that we have in this entire Israel-Palestine situation is the problem of Christian Zionists, most of whom are American evangelical Christians. Palestine used to be 10% Christian. It's now more like 2 or 3% Christian. And most of those
Yeah, and that number started dwindling in 1948 when the state of Israel got established. So this whole idea that Muslims are out to unalive Christians is bullshit. It's not. It's really not. Because if that was the case, then the number of Christians in Jerusalem should have been flourishing. That number should have went from 10% to, let's say, about 20% by now, or even more. But if you see videos, we will understand that Christians have also been killed in the whole war that's been going on. Not just that, they get spat on. So they are disrespected just like the way Palestinians are disrespected. You guys think this is only Muslims' problem? No, it's also Christians as well. And the evangelical Christians here with the mega churches and stuff like that are making millions of dollars, siphoning money from their followers and buying yachts and Rolex and wearing the latest shoes and stuff like that. Yeah, those people are in support of what's going on in Palestine, which is also the unaliving of other Christians as well. You won't hear them talk about that because they know as soon as they open up their mouth, that money that they get will no longer be coming in their churches anymore. So they have sold your faith for worldly gain. Hypocrites are in every single religion. Christianity seems to be the one, to my knowledge, that is not very keen to understand that hypocrites exist almost everywhere. You got people who go to prison. They come out and all of a sudden they want to start a church. And then a year later, they're driving in Rolls Royces.
Christians have moved to the United States. Well, evangelical support for the Israeli government has resulted in an ethnic cleansing and the destruction of Christian communities in historic Palestine. So what side are you on? Are you trying to save Christianity, or are you trying to destroy Christianity because you're destroying it right now? And listen, and I'm going to take a lot of shit in your comment section for saying this, but listen, if your religion was created in somebody's basement in the 1800s, I don't want to hear your position on Israel and Palestine.
Scofield Bible.
I don't find it valid.
Yeah, I think that there's been people overlooking things, and I think that the saddest part of this whole struggle is that in society we seem to have an inability to separate people from their governments, just at the simplest level. I mean,
so
you've
true.
spelled it out before. You're like, Netanyahu's government wins with fucking 27% of the vote. It's all the
Yeah.
Orthodox Jews over there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there was a borderline. They were very close to civil war in the summer before October 7th, which is quite interesting timing, by the way, where Netanyahu seized control of the judiciary.
5 weeks.
And also keep in mind that the reason that the whole Palestinian war is still going is because then if the war stopped, Netanyahu will be called to court to, explain his reasoning behind the war. And people are going to realize that the whole October 7th, he knew about it and he let it happen. It doesn't take 6 hours to respond to what happened on October 7th. And on top of that, they also directed the Hannibal Directive was also initiated on that day. So, AKA, although they claim that over 1,200 Israeli died, about 400 or 600 of those were done by the Israelis themselves. Why? Because they want to grow as much hatred and envy in the heart of Israelis and the world as much as possible, because they knew that what's going to be happening in Gaza, they can't stop. So they have to garner the acceptance. They have to garner people's sympathy in order to continue what's going on now.
Weeks before, they were people were in the streets.
Yep.
We were seeing demonstrations, especially in Tel Aviv and Haifa, that were unprecedented
Right.
in scale. He was this close to being overthrown and having to call new elections.
That's the thing, John. It's like on every angle of this, we've sacrificed humanity, right? We've watched thousands of people be killed, and we fight about it over tweets. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
I'm guilty. I mean,
Right.
I don't fight a lot on Twitter, but like I'm watching these tweets too, so I'm guilty of it just like everyone else. And we also generalize all the people involved. And these are this is such a nuanced situation when it comes to the people involved and who it is. And like you've now seen.
Hey guys, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. It's a huge help. Thanks and enjoy the rest of the show.
I have so many Jewish friends in America who don't fuck with what Israel's doing at all. And yet they get dragged into this because
Yes,
it's like,
that's
and,
true.
and
It leads to
that's not fair.
anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
I was having lunch in New York. I'm going to say the weather was nice. So it must have been like May or June, sitting with a buddy of mine at an outside cafe. And he happens to be Jewish.
Mm.
He's not Zionist or fist in the air. He just happens to be Jewish. So we're talking about this, about October 7th and the war, about Israel's response to October 7th. And he said, as a Jew, I really fear that Israel's heavy hand is going to result in increases in anti-Semitism,
Yeah.
especially in the United States.
And all that is done on purpose. You have to understand that in order for the state of Israel to continue, they need more and more Jewish people to continue over there. When the state of Israel was being established, they were literally starting false flags all over the place, all over the Middle East, places in where a lot of Jews will reside, because they wanted to make this place unsafe for the Jews. So that way they can be like, oh shit, the only place that I will feel safe in is if I go to the state of Israel. So this whole anti-Semitism and stuff like that, it's not by accident. This is generated on purpose. They are doing this on purpose. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that unaliving a bunch of babies is wrong. And so they're doing it. And on top of that, the IDF themselves are recording themselves doing it, and they're posting these on the internet. And then they want to come and gaslight all of us, saying that, oh, what you're seeing with your eyes is wrong. There's no genocide going on. There's no baby being malnourished. We're not killing innocent people. And yet they are recording it and posting it.
Well, there were these two women sitting next to us, both in their 80s, they told us later. And one of them finally said, excuse me, but I couldn't help but to overhear your conversation. The one said, we're both Jewish too, and we have the same fears.
Yep.
We are seeing an increase in anti-Semitism, especially in New York, but it's because of the Israeli government's
Yes.
actions. Otherwise, most people wouldn't pay any attention
Wouldn't
to
Nope.
what's going on in
Nobody
Israel.
would.
wouldn't care, and
No,
and
it
that's
wouldn't register with them.
that-
Why do you think nobody's paying attention to, I don't know, let's say let me just name a random name of country, like France, for example, because they're not committing the G-side, or Italy, or Greece. You know what I mean? If you don't want to go based off of a land, okay, cool, we can go based off of ethnicity. What about the Hawaiians? People are not paying attention to these guys because they're not doing what the state of Israel is doing. The only reason people are paying attention to the Jewish community is simply because a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are in support of what's going on. And when anybody speak out, you get shut down. And then they want to start crying about anti-Semitism. Meanwhile, they are in support of what's going on in the state of Palestine. So of course, this is going to get people to hate you because you were literally shutting down spaces. Anybody who speaks out, you go after their job, you go after their career, even though all these people are saying, hey, we don't want you to unalive these people in our name. Because America's name is attached to what's going on. If it wasn't because of the evangelicals, if it wasn't because of the American tax dollars, guess what? What's going on in the Middle East, it won't be happening. The state of Israel cannot survive without the support of the American. It just won't survive.
That's what's so, like, sometimes it feels like society is just being manipulated to break at all times. I've for a long time had this quote. I'm sure someone else came up with it at some point. I've just never cared to Google it, but you know, at least it sounded smart the first time I said it. A divided society is a compliant society. And when you can divide people on one or two really emotional issues, you know, 4 or 5 years ago it was COVID and the fucking vaccine, and now it's Israel-Palestine, you can distract from everything else that you don't want them to know about or you don't want them to focus on. And it's like, you know, I talk with people who are very hardcore Zionists and I talk to people who are very hardcore anti-Zionist. And the commonalities I see in those conversations is that they will each make a separate point that is like, yes, agree 100%. But they're pointing at a problem that's over here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, I agree with you. Now come back here. See how it works this way too, right here at home?
Exactly.
And they're like, well, no, not whenever it comes to their issue, whatever it is, they're unwilling to see it there, but they'll see it everywhere else. And I'm like, guys, if we're, especially from an American perspective, this is my issue with this, you should be worried about the interests of Americans first and what's going on here first. It doesn't mean separate from the world. It doesn't mean become an isolationist, but like you should worry about what are the downstream effects here. So if China, Qatar, Iran, and Israel are all doing propaganda campaigns that involve body counts in the United States, I don't make a distinction between any of them. It's all the same thing. Why is it so hard for you Zionist and you anti-Zionist to see, you only see these three and you only see that one? It's the same shit.
It's the same thing. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You know, one of the things too that has been a surprise for me, even if it shouldn't be a surprise, is the difficulty that Americans have in even listening to people with whom they disagree.
Yeah.
Growing up, just like on my dad's side, as an example, when my dad's parents came to the United States, my grandmother was a royalist, right? She supported the Greek royal family, which wasn't Greek, it was Danish, and the king couldn't even speak Greek, so he was overthrown, which he deserved to be. Oh, malacas.
That's like a Mexican coming into America and then becoming the president and he has no idea how to speak English. I mean, that's just diabolical, bruh. How in the world did he even get into that position would be my question.
So my grandfather was a Republican with a small R. He supported the establishment of the Hellenic Republic, and that's what the Greeks have now. Politically, they both somehow became Democrats. On my mom's side, my grandparents didn't give two shits about politics in Greece, and they became Republicans, and most of their kids were Republicans. My mom was a Democrat, but my uncles voted for Wallace in '68 very, very happily. And I remember And I won't even say it
It's
because
a tough vote.
Yeah, it involves some not very nice words. But they voted for Wallace, my two uncles, and then I still remember being a little kid and seeing the Nixon Now buttons that they had on. So it just never occurred to me that there were people out there who wouldn't speak to other people just because they believe in one thing or don't believe in another. My best friends from high school. Best friends. I mean, we're all in each other's weddings. We're godfathers to each other's kids. Dave McCracken, Dave's passed away, but Dave was a Republican. Gary Senko, Republican. Guy Cabellas, a Democrat, and Russ Collette, a Democrat. And it never mattered to any of us. And I just don't, people say all the time, I can't believe you would go on Fox News. Why wouldn't I go on Fox News? I have a position.
Right.
On an issue like John Brennan. It happens to fit in with Fox News's editorial position. But maybe I can educate a Fox News viewer
Sure.
if I go on tonight and I have my 20 seconds to speak my piece.
Yeah, I think it's very deliberate from
Mhm.
whoever
They don't want us to talk
They
to one
don't
another.
want us to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that is true because this whole situation that has been happening in Gaza has really brought America closer and closer together. And yeah, that is something that they do not want no matter what. They just don't want that. And so you have a lot of politicians out there who are constantly advocating for the state of Israel and so on and so forth. I mean, some politicians literally said to themselves that they got into office simply because they want to garnish as much support as possible for the state of Israel. You know what I mean? Anyways, I just want to go ahead and stop it right here. I wanted to add more onto it, but if you made it this far, don't forget to leave a like and sub, and I'll catch you guys up later.